Isn't it amazing, really? What you've just seen there is, thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood. Yet again we see in the main high altar area, as it were, we see a wonderful painting depicting a Priory sign, which I won't do for camera, but a Priory sign, and then we have the kings bowing to the Jesus, the anointed. So therefore he becomes the Sarui Saru in Karu, the Sarui Saru, which is King of Kings. And the blood, again, we see. And everything I feel and sense here today reminds me of the Aztecs, of the brutal slaughters and the ripping out of hearts and the decapitations of blood offerings and life offerings, energy offerings to their gods. And it's very much depicted in that as well, very much so. We have the Alpha to the Omega. We can see that very clear in there, the beginning to the end. We've got the white dove. We've got now what I really want everyone to focus on in what's going to happen, and I will tell you this and say this, in 2029. There's even a depiction of what's going to happen in 2029. And I want to show you that now. We can see you have the sun, the stars, the moon, and then you have Nemesis on the other side, the red dwarf planet. It's there as bold as brass. So in the beginning we have the sun, the Alpha. In the Omega we have Nemesis, the red planet, with its own satellites. And it's as clear as day. You can see it, it's there. There's no ifs and buts there. There's a lot more in this painting and the description of this particular church where we're at, St Nicholas Church in Pluckley in Kent. And here we have it as bold as day. Who would have thought we'd see the sun and Nemesis, or should I say the sun and Ninasul, to be precise? What do we call the planet? Nemesis, Ninasul, Planet X, Planet 9, Planet 10, Planet 7, the morning star in Freemasonry. If we go back to the Aztecs, they worshipped it as the dark moon, they referred it to. So, you know, it's there, bold as brass. Up on the top part of that, we've got Jacob's ladder, which I'm not surprised. Now, oddly enough, there's a wonderful spike coming through with 3 main points to the perfection. So when we look at the Jacob's ladder on the left-hand side, we see the Jacob's ladder, the spear of destiny, and we see the 3 points. Put it all together, and what we actually have there is a hexagram. If we look at it carefully to the points, we actually have a hexagram you can draw. The enemy is not really that important. It's there as a mark. We have the money, the gold. Gold's very clear there. We know. We've also got the Egyptian almost behind there, the Osiris. And that brings us back into a Seth realm. So we have the Osiris, the gold. Why? Because gold is important. Why is gold so important on this planet? Why not lead? Why isn't lead worth money? Why is gold the money? Because, as we know, from the Sumerians, from the Karu, from the Ninassians, gold is the most valuable thing on the planet because it provides energy source, it provides life, it provides lots of things when it's in a powder and gaseous form. And we can see there. So we've got the gold on there as well. Then we have the gavel. We've got the 3 dice, which is interesting. And I just want you to pay attention to what's actually up there at the moment. The numbers that are showing face up on the dice adds up to 13. Yeah, the number 13, which is quite important, isn't it? We have the number 5, the number 2, and the number 6. Yeah, showing face up against judgment. So 13. 12 disciples plus Jesus. 12 tribes of Israel plus the anointed. Add to 13. So there's much, much more. We can see we have the children, the 3 children below, bowing in a slightly different way to how the kings are. And they're all here. We can see the hand gesture from the Jesus' right-hand man, should we say. It's quite interesting to see Mary Magdalene depicted as she was, actually as a man and not as a woman. That's most important to see. which I'm quite pleased to see in the painting. We've got the Knights Templar here, the cross. So we had the warrior, the shield. And again, the Knights Templar is actually communicating in a slightly different way. You can see that Jesus is representing by the Priory sign and symbol, but everyone else is quite humbled. But they're there nevertheless. We have 7 candles, 7 points of light, 7 systems to the universe. So that it's there as bold as day. Amazing as that is. Even down, if we look further along here, even the candles, which are modern obviously, we've got the Alpha to Omega candle, the beginning to the end, straight here in front of us. Quite interesting that the, again, we have 6 points to the cross. You see how the candles develop there, there's 6 points to it, which brings us back to the 6 protons, the 6 neurons, the 6 points of human life. And it's there. You could say we're looking into that too much, but it's pretty much there. It says it straight away. There's some wonderful things as we go around here. Lots of Latin words. And some of the phraseology I haven't heard for many, many, many years, or even read for many years, but there's certainly some very interesting Latin words within this building. This building was built in 1083, so we're looking at 1,000 years of history. Of course, the painting is a much more modern addition, but as we can see, this is how churches were. They weren't full of glitz and glamour. They were very much quite basic, really, quite humbled, which is what the real church was established to be. Not about gold, not about big cathedrals that charge money for you to go in and see, not for buildings to be adorned with wonderful jewels and donations from rich people. That isn't what church was about. And perhaps this is the demise of the church, the reason being, is because it's somehow lost its meaning from the Old Testament. And dare I use the phrase Kolbrin, the real words of Jesus, the real words of Christ, the real words of the Anointed, the Kolbrin, K-O-L-B-R-I-N, Kolbrin, as it's translated from Aramaic into modern English. So has the church really lost its sense of belonging? This is a day, like any other day, but we're the only people in this church. I don't see parishioners coming in. I don't see locals coming in to pay respects to Jesus. I don't see anyone coming in to sit here and have a moment's prayer and thought. Thus endeth the story. Jesus said that, did he not? Find me under a stone and I'll be there. Under a rock and I'll be there. The driftwood on the sand, you will see me. If we look at the Kolbrin words, slightly different to the Bible. So it's got a good feel about it, the church. I'm going to be filtering between historical facts, opinions and feelings that I'm having right now. And there is, again, we've got various things. We've got the Neville line up there, which I would expect to see. As we know, the Neville line goes back to Enochian traditions and beyond. So we're looking at the keys of Enoch, the lesser keys of Solomon. And we know that from the line. That's factual. That's not a hypothesis. That's fact. And so there's a sense of, and what I did find particularly interesting here, again, I'm seeing a lot of Freemasonry symbology, but I'm not surprised to see that because, again, the Kolbrin, a lot of the hidden arts of Freemasonry is based upon certain scriptures from the Kolbrin. And most people would have never heard of the Kolbrin, but do some searches on it, and you'll be quite amazed. Up here, what I'm seeing is Order of the Eastern Star, Masonic again, but I'm seeing some it's very discreet how it's here, on a very plain window, a more modern edition of the wood, the hidden forest, the man of the woods, the green man, almost springs to mind there, as we come into the red, white, gold, and the greens. But there's a lot more to it. What's interesting, away from that side, just, I think over 1,000 years of I hate to use the word worship. We should not be using the word worship. Adoration, perhaps, would be a better terminology to use. You have an adoration for something. Because to worship something makes someone a slave, makes them subservient, and makes people slavery. That's what it is, isn't it? God tells you to do something, so you do it. Isn't that control? And I thought the idea of evolution was that we were meant to be coming away to be free spirits and be much more away from control. Clearly that's not the case in a modern world. But when we see up here, I like the simplicity of it. I love the fact that these pews are original and basic pews. I love the fact that it's not full of gold and jewels and wonderful things. I love the fact it's got real meaningful artwork, like the Forgotten Forest. Yeah, everything's here for a reason. I've spoken about the Forgotten Forest in many of my books that I've written over the years, and the Forgotten Forest is there. So everything is where it should be. And there's only a few modern paintings and pictures, you know, when we see them. Isn't it wonderful? How do we see the Forgotten Forest and what's actually in it? There's so much there, so much enshrined within. One thing that Janice mentioned to me earlier on, we won't go back there now, but there's a lot of honeycombs in here as well. We know that honey is a natural antibiotic and it's a source of life that can give and take life depending on how it's mixed and used, really. So there's a lot of honeycombs in here as well. So for 1083, that's quite amazing. For me, on a personal level, I've got a Clark link here, which I was quite surprised to see, to say the least. Pluckley Patriots actually have Clark, Lionel Clark in there, and another chap, Clark, on the other side for the Roll of Honour. So I was quite surprised to see that. But then when I think about it, I'm not that surprised, because Plimpton in Devon to here isn't that many miles away, I guess. So from a migrational point of view, if the Clarks made it to London from Plimpton in Devon, they would have made it to other parts of this area as well. And what a nice area to be in. So, but I think that's as much as I can say about the church today. It's an interesting church, it's worth a visit. We certainly have seen a few things that I'm going to talk in the next video clip when we try and see whether we can get some kind of sound or imagery. That's the best way.